"If you have that baby, I'll destroy your family," the billionaire CEO warned his ex-wife. "But 6 years later, you won't believe what happened." The words hung in the air like poison. Kendra Washington stood frozen in the penthouse apartment, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach where a life she had just discovered was growing. The man she loved, the man she thought would be the father of her children, stood before her with eyes as cold as January steel. "Devin, please. This is our baby, our future." He laughed, but it was not the warm laugh she had fallen in love with. This was something else entirely, something cruel. "Your future, Kendra, not mine. I never agreed to this. I never wanted this. And if you think you are going to trap me with some pregnancy, you have no idea who you are dealing with." "Trap you?" She could barely get the words out. "I love you. I thought you loved me. Love does not pay for the complications you are about to create." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to something almost worse than shouting. Something controlled, calculated. "Listen to me very carefully because I am only going to say this once. If you have that baby, I will destroy your family. Your father's construction company? Gone. I will make sure he never gets another contract in this city. Your brother Marcus and his promising legal career? I will bury him in scandals so deep he will never practice law again. And your mother's precious charity work? I will ensure every donor she has ever had runs in the opposite direction." Tears streamed down Kendra's face. "You would not. Try me." His voice was ice. "I have spent 15 years building an empire, and I am not about to let anyone, especially not some unplanned pregnancy, derail what I have created. You have a choice to make, Kendra. Get rid of it, or watch everyone you love suffer the consequences." She stared at him. This man she had given 2 years of her life to. This man she had believed in. This man she had trusted with her heart. And in that moment, something inside her shifted. The devastation remained, but underneath it, something harder was forming. Something that would carry her through the darkness ahead. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand and looked directly into his eyes. "I choose my baby. I choose my family. And Devin, one day you are going to regret this moment more than you can possibly imagine." She walked out of that penthouse with nothing but her purse and the clothes on her back. She did not look back, not once. That was 6 years ago. Now, I need you to picture this. The same woman who left that penthouse broken and pregnant is standing in the marble lobby of Hayes Financial Tower. But she is not the same woman, not even close. The navy Armani suit she is wearing, she designed it herself. Her fashion line is one of 12 businesses she owns. The confidence radiating from every step she takes, that was forged in fire, built through sleepless nights with colicky twins, through rejections and setbacks and moments when she wanted to give up, but refused to let his words define her ending. And those twins he never knew existed, they are standing right beside her. A boy and a girl, 6 years old, dressed impeccably, completely unaware that they are about to meet their father for the very first time. But here is what makes this moment absolutely incredible. Kendra is not here to beg. She is not here for revenge. She is here because circumstances have forced her hand, and when Kendra Washington is forced into a corner, she comes out swinging. She built an $83 million empire from absolutely nothing. She raised 2 children alone while building that empire. She became everything he said she could never be without him. And now, after 6 years of silence, she is about to walk into his conference room and show him exactly what his threats created. But I need to ask you something before we continue. Have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever had someone look at you and decide you were not worth the effort, not worth the investment, not worth the commitment? Have you ever been threatened with destruction only to rise from the ashes stronger than anyone thought possible? If any part of this story resonates with you, I need you to hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel because we are just getting started, and trust me, you do not want to miss what happens when Kendra walks through that conference room door. The look on Devin Hayes' face when he realizes what he lost. That moment alone is worth staying for. Now let me take you back to the beginning. Let me show you how we got here. 7 years before that confrontation in the penthouse, Kendra Washington was 24 years old with a newly minted architecture degree and a position at her father's construction company. Roland Washington had built Washington Construction from the ground up, starting with a single pickup truck and a reputation for honest work. By the time Kendra joined the family business, they had grown into one of Atlanta's most respected mid-sized construction firms. Kendra was not there because of nepotism. She had earned her place graduating top of her class, winning design competitions, proving herself in internships across the country before coming home to help her father expand into commercial architecture. She had plans, big ones. Eventually, she wanted to start her own design firm. She wanted to build structures that mattered, buildings that would outlast her, spaces where people would gather and grow and create memories. Architecture to Kendra was not just about steel and concrete. It was about possibility. It was at a construction industry gala that she first saw Devin Hayes. He was impossible to miss. Tall, commanding, with the kind of presence that made rooms go quiet when he entered. At 35, he had already made his first billion, transforming a small financial consulting firm into Hayes Financial, a powerhouse that touched everything from investment banking to real estate development. He was also, as Kendra would later learn, one of her father's most important clients. Their eyes met across the ballroom. The connection was immediate, electric, the kind of thing romance novels promised but rarely delivered. He walked straight to her, ignoring the crowd of people vying for his attention. "You are the most beautiful woman in this room, and something tells me you are also the smartest." Kendra raised an eyebrow, unimpressed by the smooth delivery. That is quite an assumption to make based on a 5-second look across a crowded room. He smiled, and something in that smile made her stomach flutter despite herself. "Then prove me wrong. Have dinner with me." She should have said no. She knew who he was, knew his reputation for ruthlessness in business, knew that getting involved with one of her father's clients was complicated at best. But there was something about him that night, something that seemed genuine beneath the polish. "One dinner," she said. "But I am warning you right now. I am not impressed by money or power. If you want to impress me, you are going to have to try a lot harder than a fancy restaurant and expensive wine." Challenge accepted. That first dinner lasted 4 hours. They talked about everything. His childhood in rural Georgia, raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table. Her dreams of building something meaningful with her architecture. The books they loved, the places they wanted to travel, the way they both felt like outsiders in the world of wealth and privilege they now inhabited. He was charming, yes, but more than that, he seemed interested, genuinely interested. He asked questions about her work, about her designs, about what she hoped to create. When she talked about her vision for affordable housing that did not look or feel affordable, his eyes lit up. "You should do that," he said. "I know developers. I could introduce you to people who could make that happen. I do not need your connections, Devin. I need to build my own reputation." He leaned back in his chair and studied her. "Most people who meet me want something. Money, access, influence. You genuinely do not care about any of that, do you? I care about being good at what I do. I care about creating things that matter. Everything else is just noise." Something shifted in his expression then, something that looked almost like admiration, and maybe, if Kendra was reading him correctly, something like fear, as if he had just realized he had met someone who could not be bought or controlled. They started dating, carefully at first, keeping it quiet because of the business relationship between Hayes Financial and Washington Construction. But within a few months, quiet became impossible. They were in love, or at least Kendra was in love. And Devin? He said all the right things, made all the right gestures, gave her every reason to believe this was real. He met her family. Sunday dinners at her parents' house became routine. Her mother, Vivian, was cautiously optimistic. Her brother Marcus was suspicious from the start. "He is too smooth," Marcus warned her one night after Devin had left. "Men like that do not fall in love. They acquire, they possess. Be careful, Kendra." "You do not know him like I do," she replied. "He is different with me." Famous last words of every woman who ever fell for the wrong man. Kendra dismissed her brother's concerns. Marcus was overprotective. He did not understand what she and Devin shared. When Devin looked at her, she felt seen. When he touched her, she felt wanted. When he talked about their future, she believed every word. But there were signs, small ones, easy to dismiss in the glow of new love. The way his jaw tightened when she disagreed with him in public, the subtle put-downs disguised as jokes, the gradual isolation from friends who, according to Devin, did not understand their relationship. And there was his relationship with control. He needed it, craved it, structured his entire life around maintaining it. His business decisions were calculated to the decimal point. His personal relationships were managed with the same precision. Everything in Devin Hayes' world existed within carefully constructed boundaries. Kendra did not fit neatly into any boundary, and looking back, she could see that this had always made him uncomfortable. But love is blind, and she was so deeply in love that she could not see what was standing right in front of her. 18 months into their relationship, Kendra started feeling sick in the mornings. At first, she blamed stress. Work was demanding, and she had just landed her first solo architectural project, a community center in an underserved neighborhood. She was burning the candle at both ends, and her body was simply protesting. But when the nausea continued for 2 weeks, something in the back of her mind started whispering. She bought the pregnancy test on a Tuesday afternoon, hiding it in her purse like contraband. She took it in the bathroom of her small apartment while Devin was in New York on business. The 2 pink lines appeared almost immediately. Pregnant. Kendra sat on the bathroom floor for an hour, staring at those lines, feeling everything at once. Terror and joy. Anxiety and hope. This was not planned. They had been careful. But nature had other ideas, and now a tiny life was growing inside her. When the shock faded, hope took over. They had talked about children, vaguely, abstractly, in the way couples do when they are building a future together. Devin had never said he did not want kids. He had never said he did. But surely this would be okay. They loved each other. They would figure it out. She waited for him to return from New York. She wanted to tell him in person, wanted to see his face when he learned he was going to be a father. She imagined surprise, then joy, then that smile that made her heart skip. She imagined him picking her up and spinning her around, promising they would handle this together. What she got instead was a nightmare. Devin returned on a Friday evening. Kendra had prepared dinner, set the table with candles, rehearsed her words 100 times. When he walked through the door, she could tell immediately that something was off. His shoulders were tight, his expression distant. "Rough trip?" she asked, kissing his cheek. Board meeting ran long. He loosened his tie and poured himself a scotch without offering her anything. "What is all this?" He gestured at the candles, the carefully prepared meal. "I wanted to talk to you about something important." He sighed, the sound of a man who had no patience left. "Can it wait?" "I am exhausted." "No, it cannot wait." Something in her voice must have signaled seriousness, because he finally looked at her. Really looked at her. And in that moment, she saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Not love, not warmth, something calculating, something cold. "What is it, Kendra?" She took a deep breath. "I am pregnant." The silence that followed was deafening. Devin set his glass down slowly, his movements deliberate, controlled. His face betrayed nothing for a long, terrible moment. "You are what?" "Pregnant. About 6 weeks, I think. I know this was not planned, but Devin, I think this could be wonderful. We love each other. We have been building a life together. This is just the next step. The next step." He repeated the words like they were foreign, like she had spoken in a language he did not understand. "You think a baby is the next step. I know it is earlier than we might have planned, but plenty of couples make this work. We can make this work. We can be a family. A family. Why do you keep repeating everything I say?" "Because I am trying to understand how you could possibly think this is something I want." The words hit her like a physical blow. "Devin, what are you saying?" "I am saying this was not part of the plan, Kendra. I am saying I have spent 15 years building an empire, and I am not about to let an unplanned pregnancy derail everything I have worked for." "Derail? This is a baby, Devin. Our baby. It is a complication." He stood, beginning to pace, his voice rising. "Do you have any idea what this would do to my reputation? To my business relationships? I have deals in motion that depend on a certain image, a certain lifestyle. A baby does not fit into that image." Kendra stared at him, feeling like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. "Since when does having a family damage someone's reputation?" "Since always in my world. Billionaire Bachelor is a brand, Kendra. It opens doors. People want to party with me, do business with me, be seen with me. A baby crying in the background of that image? Not exactly what my investors signed up for. I cannot believe what I am hearing." "Then let me make it clearer." He stopped pacing and faced her, his expression hardening into something she did not recognize. "Get rid of it." The words knocked the air from her lungs. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. This is not a difficult problem to solve. Take care of it, and we can move on like nothing happened." Take care of it? Devin, this is not a business problem you can just eliminate. This is a life, our child. It is not a child. It is a cluster of cells that will become a massive complication if you let it. Be practical, Kendra. Practical? She was shouting now, something she rarely did. You want me to terminate my pregnancy because it is inconvenient for your brand? I want you to make the smart choice, the choice that protects both of us. There is no version of this where killing my baby is the smart choice. Then you leave me no option. What is that supposed to mean? If you have that baby, I will destroy your family. And there it was, the threat that would change everything. The moment when the man she loved revealed himself to be someone else entirely. He laid it out with the precision of a business proposal. Her father's contracts with Hayes Financial and its connected entities would vanish overnight. He would ensure Roland Washington never got another major contract in Georgia. He would plant stories about her brother Marcus, manufactured scandals that would end his legal career before it truly began. Her mother's charity, the women's shelter she had spent 20 years building, would lose every donor when Devin made calls suggesting financial improprieties. I am not bluffing, he said, his voice eerily calm. I have the resources and the connections to make all of this happen. Try me, if you do not believe me. Kendra stood there, trembling, as the full weight of his words settled over her. This was not the man she loved. This was not the man who had held her hand through her grandmother's funeral, who had laughed with her family at Sunday dinners, who had promised her a future full of possibility. This was a monster, and somehow she had missed all the signs. But even as her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces, something else was happening inside her. Something fierce and protective and utterly unbreakable. She was carrying a life inside her. An innocent life that had done nothing wrong except exist. And in that moment, Kendra Washington made a choice. She chose her baby. She chose her family. She chose to believe that she was stronger than his threats, stronger than his money, stronger than the fear trying to paralyze her. I feel sorry for you, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. You have more money than most people will ever see, and you are still the most pathetic man I have ever met. Excuse me? You heard me. She stepped closer to him, refusing to be intimidated. You think power is about destroying people? Power is building something that lasts. Power is loving someone more than you love yourself. Power is having the courage to do hard things. You do not have power, Devin. You have fear, and one day that fear is going to leave you completely alone. She grabbed her purse from the counter. I am leaving now, and I am having this baby. Do your worst. Then she walked out the door and did not look back. The first night alone was the hardest. Kendra drove until she could not see straight, tears blurring the highway in front of her. She ended up at her parents' house, standing on the porch at 2 a.m, unable to ring the doorbell, unable to face the questions she knew would come. She sat on the porch swing instead, wrapped in the darkness, trying to make sense of how her life had fallen apart in the span of a single evening. Her mother found her there at dawn. Kendra? Baby, what is wrong? And Kendra told her everything. The pregnancy, the threat, the destruction Devin had promised if she kept a baby. Every ugly word, every calculated threat, every piece of her heart that he had shattered. Vivian Washington listened without interrupting. When Kendra finished, her mother took her face in her hands. You listen to me, Vivian said firmly. That man can threaten whatever he wants. But the Washington family has survived worse than some billionaire with a grudge. We came from nothing, and we built something real. He cannot take that away from us. But Daddy's contracts, Marcus's career, your charity, let us worry about that. Right now, you focus on yourself and that baby. The rest of it, we will figure out together. That is what family does. But Kendra could not let her family suffer for her choices. Over the next 2 weeks, as she processed the trauma and made a plan, she came to a decision. She would leave Atlanta. She would go somewhere Devin could not reach, somewhere his influence did not extend. She would build a new life, far from the fallout of his threats. Charlotte, North Carolina, just far enough to be safe, just close enough to see her family occasionally if she was careful. A fresh start for her and the baby growing inside her. Her father tried to talk her out of it. I am not afraid of Devin Hayes, Roland said. Let him try to destroy my business. I have been building walls since before he was born. He does not scare me. But he scares me, Kendra replied. Not for me, for you, for all of you. I cannot stay here and watch him hurt everyone I love. So, You are just going to run. I am going to survive, Daddy. That is not the same as running. She left on a gray Tuesday morning with $847 in her checking account and a single suitcase. Marcus slipped her an envelope when no one was looking. It is not much, he said. Just what I have been saving. Take it. Marcus, I cannot. You can, and you will. He hugged her tightly. You call me if you need anything at all. She drove away from the only home she had ever known, watching Atlanta shrink in her rearview mirror. She was 26 years old, pregnant with twins, though she did not know that yet, and completely alone. But she was also free. Charlotte welcomed her with indifference, which was exactly what she needed. She found a tiny apartment in a forgettable complex, the kind of place where no one asked questions and everyone minded their own business. She got a job as a waitress at a diner, hiding her pregnancy as long as possible, pocketing tips and trying to figure out what came next. At her first prenatal appointment, the ultrasound technician's face changed. What is it? Kendra asked, panic rising. Is something wrong? Nothing is wrong, the technician said with a smile. But there is something you should see. She turned the monitor so Kendra could see. 2 heartbeats, 2 tiny forms on the screen. Twins. Kendra stared at the image, overwhelmed by terror and joy in equal measure. 2 babies, twice the diapers, twice the feedings, twice the everything. And she was doing this completely alone. She cried the whole drive home. Then she wiped her tears, made a list of everything she needed to do, and got to work. The pregnancy was hard. She worked at the diner until her 8th month, ignoring the aching feet and swollen ankles, calculating every penny. At night, she started working on freelance design projects from her laptop, small jobs she found online, logo designs and website layouts, anything to build income streams beyond her tips. Her apartment became a shrine to multitasking. Prenatal vitamins next to design software tutorials. Baby name books stacked beside business planning worksheets. Every spare moment was spent either growing her babies or planning for a future where she could support them. Simone found her during month 6. They had been friends in college, had lost touch after graduation when Simone moved to Charlotte for a social work job. When Simone saw Kendra's name on social media, very pregnant and apparently local, she reached out immediately. Girl, why did you not tell me you were here? Simone demanded when she showed up at Kendra's door. I did not want to burden anyone. Burden? Kendra, we cried together through finals week. We survived Professor Mitchell's ethics class together. You really thought I would consider a pregnant friend a burden? Simone became her lifeline. She came to doctor's appointments, helped set up the tiny nursery in Kendra's even tinier apartment, listened without judgment when Kendra told her about Devin. That man is going to rot in his own emptiness, Simone declared, and you are going to be too busy being amazing to notice. The twins arrived 3 weeks early. Kendra's water broke at work, right in the middle of the lunch rush. Simone rushed her to the hospital, holding her hand through 12 hours of labor that felt like 12 years. Amara came first, screaming her presence into the world at 7:43 in the evening. Isaiah followed 6 minutes later, quieter, already studying his surroundings with serious eyes. Kendra held them both, one in each arm, and felt something she had never experienced before. Complete, terrified, utterly in love. They were so small, so perfect, and they were hers. The first year was a blur of exhaustion and survival. Twin newborns do not sleep. They eat, they cry, they need constant attention, and they do it on completely opposite schedules as if coordinating to ensure their mother never rests. Kendra learned to function on 3 hours of sleep. She learned to nurse one baby while rocking the other with her foot. She learned that showers were optional and sanity was negotiable. She kept working. She had to. The waitressing job was impossible with twins, so she shifted entirely to freelance design work. Her apartment became her office. She took calls with clients while babies napped, sent emails in the precious quiet moments, built a portfolio one project at a time. Her first big break came when one of her logo designs caught the attention of a small boutique hotel chain. They wanted full branding, website design, interior concept work. The contract was worth more than she had made in the previous 6 months combined. She took the call while Amara screamed in the background and Isaiah needed a diaper change. She muted her phone for the screaming parts and somehow sounded professional enough to land the contract. That night, after the twins finally slept, Kendra looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. She barely recognized the woman staring back, dark circles under her eyes, Hair that had not been properly styled in months. Stained t-shirt. Exhausted beyond measure. But there was something else in her reflection too. Strength. Determination. The beginning of something that looked like pride. "You are doing it," she whispered to herself. "You are actually doing it." The hotel project led to more projects. Word of mouth spread. Within a year, Kendra had more work than she could handle alone. She hired her first employee, a freelance designer who could work remotely, and officially incorporated Washington Design. By the twins' second birthday, she had an office. Small, just 2 rooms in a shared workspace, but it was real. She could take meetings without explaining the Cheerios stuck to her laptop. She could present to clients without a baby crying in the background. The business grew. She expanded into real estate development consultation, partnering with construction companies who needed architectural vision. By year 3, Washington Design became Washington Development Group, a full-service firm that could take projects from concept to completion. And then came the foundation. Kendra never forgot those early days. The isolation of single parenthood, the impossible juggle of babies and business, the moments when she almost gave up because it seemed too hard, too unfair, too much. She wanted to help other parents going through the same thing. Parents who did not have a Simone to show up at their door. Parents who could not afford childcare while they chased their dreams. Parents who had been abandoned or left behind or told they would never amount to anything. The Washington Foundation for Single Parents launched when the twins were 4. It provided childcare subsidies, business mentorship, small loans for startup costs, and a community of support. Within a year, they had helped over 200 parents build sustainable careers while raising their children. By the time Amara and Isaiah turned 5, Kendra was worth $40 million on paper. By 6, that number had doubled. Washington Development Group had offices in Charlotte and Raleigh, employed over 300 people, and had completed projects that Kendra once only dreamed about. She had done it. Everything Devin said she could never do without him, she had done. Alone, with 2 children, starting from nothing, but she never forgot who she was really building this for. Every success, every milestone, every zero added to her net worth, it all came back to 2 little people who called her mama and thought she was a superhero. And now, for the first time in 6 years, she was about to face the man who tried to destroy her. Before we continue with what happens next, I need you to do something for me. If Kendra's story is speaking to you, if you have ever been underestimated or counted out or told you were not enough, hit that like button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that their worst moments do not define their ending. Subscribe to this channel because trust me, you do not want to miss what happens when Kendra walks into that conference room. The confrontation ahead is going to test everything we think we know about forgiveness, second chances, and whether people can truly change. Drop a comment telling me what you would do in Kendra's position. Would you even give Devin the chance to meet his children? Or would you keep walking and let him wonder for the rest of his life? Your voice matters here. This community is built on real stories about real struggles and real triumphs. You are part of that now. Now let me tell you what brought Kendra back to Atlanta after 6 years of silence. It started with the twins' questions. At first, they were easy to deflect. Where is my daddy became he lives far away became we have each other and that is enough. But children are persistent, and as Amara and Isaiah grew, their questions became harder to answer. Other kids at school have dads, Amara said one evening, her yellow crayon pausing over the family portrait she was drawing. Madison's dad comes to all our dance recitals. Kendra's heart clenched. Some families look different, baby. Some have 2 moms, some have 2 dads, some have just one parent who loves them enough for everybody. But where is our dad? Why does he not come? Kendra had rehearsed this answer 100 times, but it never got easier. Your dad and I knew each other before you were born, but we could not be together, and he does not know where we are. Why did you not tell him? Because sometimes adults make choices to protect the people they love, and I chose to protect you. Amara seemed to accept this, but Isaiah was watching with those analytical eyes that missed nothing. Did he do something bad? Isaiah asked quietly. Kendra weighed her words carefully. He made some choices that hurt me, but that does not mean he is a bad person. People are complicated, Isaiah. Sometimes they do bad things without being bad all the way through. Is that why you look sad when we ask about him? Children saw everything. Every forced smile. Every careful deflection. Every moment when the past crept into the present and left shadows on her face. I look sad because I wish things had been different, Kendra said honestly. I wish you had a dad who was here for dance recitals and soccer games and bedtime stories. But we have built something beautiful together, just the three of us. And I would not trade that for anything." The conversation ended, but the questions did not. They came back every few months, each time a little harder to answer. And then came the business complications. Washington Development Group was preparing to go public. Investors were circling. Media interest was building. Her PR team was doing background preparation, anticipating the stories that would emerge when Kendra Washington became a household name. "You need to know something," her lawyer said during a preparation meeting. "When we file for IPO, there will be investigations. Deep dives into your background, your history, your connections. They will find Devin Hayes." I assumed as much. The question is, how you want to handle it. If the story breaks without your input, the narrative could be anything. Scorned woman hiding children from billionaire father. Bitter custody battle ahead. Drama that could affect stock prices and investor confidence. And if I control the narrative, then you get to decide what the story is. Cooperative co-parents who had timing issues. Complicated relationship that ended before you knew about the pregnancy. Whatever version of the truth serves your goals. Kendra sat with this for a long time. The carefully constructed wall between her present and her past was about to crumble regardless. The only question was whether she would be standing on top of the rubble or buried beneath it. She talked to Simone first. "Tell him yourself," Simone said without hesitation. "On your terms, before anyone else can twist the story. He does not deserve to know. This is not about what he deserves. It is about what you need, what the twins need. What is the best way to protect everyone, including yourself?" Kendra's brother Marcus had a different opinion. "That man threatened to destroy us," Marcus said, his voice hard. "He does not get access to those children. He does not get to swoop in after 6 years and play daddy, because it is suddenly convenient." "This is not about him being a father," Kendra replied. "This is about controlling my own story. If the media finds this connection first, we lose control of everything. So let them find it. Let them tell the story of a billionaire who abandoned his pregnant girlfriend. Let him deal with that fallout. And what about Amara and Isaiah? When they are old enough to read those stories, to Google their own father, what do they find? That I hid their existence out of spite? That I never gave him a chance to know them?" Marcus had no answer for that. It was Kendra's mother who finally tipped the scales. "Those children deserve to know where they come from," Vivian said during one of their weekly phone calls. "Not for him, for them. Part of their identity is wrapped up in a man they have never met. That is a wound that will fester if you do not address it. He threatened to destroy you, Mama. He threatened to ruin everything you built. And yet here we are, still standing, maybe stronger because of it." Vivian paused. "Baby, I know what he did was unforgivable, but holding on to that forever, letting it dictate every decision you make, that gives him power he does not deserve. Take your power back. Face him. Show him what you became, and then decide, based on who he is now, whether he gets to be part of their lives." Kendra made the call on a Thursday afternoon. She dialed the main number for Hayes Financial, fully expecting to navigate through layers of assistants and gatekeepers. Instead, she was transferred directly when she gave her name. "Kendra Washington?" The assistant's voice carried surprise. "Please hold. He will want to take this immediately." The line clicked, and then there was silence, long enough for Kendra to question every decision that had led to this moment. "Kendra." Devin's voice was cautious, guarded, utterly unlike the cold certainty she remembered. "I did not expect to hear from you. I am sure you did not. Where are you? Are you okay?" "I am fine. I am calling because I need to meet with you. In person. There is something we need to discuss." A long pause. "What kind of something?" "The kind that should be discussed face to face. Can you make time in the next week? I will clear my schedule. When can you be in Atlanta?" 2 days. "Your office. 2 o'clock. I will be here." She hung up without saying goodbye, her hands trembling slightly. It was done. The wall was coming down, and there was no going back. 2 days later, she was standing in the lobby of Hayes Financial Tower with Amara and Isaiah beside her, watching the elevator numbers climb toward a confrontation 6 years in the making. "Mama, why do we have to dress so fancy?" Amara tugged at her purple dress, the one she had insisted on wearing despite Kendra's suggestions of something more neutral. "Because we are meeting someone important." "But who?" Isaiah pressed, his miniature suit a perfect match for Kendra's Armani. Someone from Mama's past, someone who needs to see how strong we are. The elevator opened on the 47th floor. The receptionist smiled professionally and directed them to conference room A. Kendra walked the long hallway, passing photos of Devin's achievements, feeling the weight of 6 years pressing down on her shoulders. She paused outside the conference room door. "Ready?" she asked the twins. "Ready for what?" Isaiah countered. "For everything to change." She pushed open the door. The room was exactly as she might have imagined. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing Atlanta's skyline. A massive conference table that could seat 20. Art on the walls that probably cost more than most people's houses. And there, standing with his back to them, phone pressed to his ear, was Devin Hayes. "I do not care what the projections say," he was saying. "Make it work, or find someone who can." He turned as he ended the call, and Kendra watched every emotion and human experience cycle across his face. Confusion, recognition, shock so profound it seemed to physically stagger him. His eyes landed on the twins, and everything in his expression collapsed. "Kendra," he managed, his voice barely above a whisper. "You brought children." "I brought your children," she corrected, her voice steady despite the earthquake in her chest. "Amara and Isaiah. Say hello, babies." "Hello," they chorused, Amara with curiosity and Isaiah with suspicion. Devin did not move. Could not move, it seemed. He stared at the twins like he was seeing ghosts, his calculating mind clearly doing the math he should have done 6 years ago. "How old are they?" The question came out strangled. 6. Their birthday is November 3rd. She watched the understanding dawn. November, 9 months after that night in his penthouse. 9 months after the worst moment of her life. "They are mine." It was not a question, but Kendra answered anyway. "Biologically, yes. In every other way that matters, that is something you will have to earn." Devin crossed to the conference table and sank into a chair like his legs could not hold him anymore. For a man who prided himself on control, he looked utterly lost. 6 years, he said quietly. "You have had my children for 6 years and I never knew they existed. Let me be very clear about why that is," Kendra replied, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You threatened to destroy my family if I kept them. You gave me a choice between my children and everyone I loved. So yes, I kept them from you. I fled to another city. I built a life where you could not reach us. And I would do it again in a heartbeat." The words hung in the air, accusation and explanation and challenge all wrapped into one. Amara tugged on Kendra's sleeve. "Mama, why are you upset?" "I am not upset, baby. I am just having an important conversation." "You sound upset," Isaiah observed with brutal honesty. "Your voice gets higher when you are angry." Kendra closed her eyes briefly, centering herself. She had promised herself she would not let old bitterness poison the air around her children. She was failing already. Devin had not taken his eyes off the twins. They looked so much like him, those same features reflected in smaller faces, and the reality of what he had missed was clearly crushing him. "What are their names again?" His voice cracked slightly. "Really, what are their names?" "Amara," the girl offered, apparently deciding this strange man was interesting enough to engage with. "I like art and the color yellow, and I want to be a painter when I grow up." "Isaiah," her brother added, "I like math and buildings, and I do not like it when people talk to me like I am stupid just because I am 6. Devin made a sound that might have been a laugh, or might have been something much more painful. "You are both incredible," he whispered. "Absolutely incredible." "Yes," Kendra agreed. "They are, which is exactly why I kept them away from you, because I needed to make sure they stayed that way." End of part 1. I need to stop here and speak directly to you before we continue. We have just witnessed the most pivotal moment of this story. 6 years of silence, 6 years of building, 6 years of questions without answers, and now Kendra is standing in front of the man who tried to destroy her with the children he never knew existed. The question is not whether Devin Hayes deserves to know his children. The question is whether he can become the father they deserve. And that is what we are about to find out. If this story has captured your attention, if you are invested in what happens next, I need you to take action right now. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, drop a comment telling me what you think should happen. Should Kendra give Devin a chance? Or should she protect her children from the man who was willing to sacrifice them before they were even born? Part 2 is coming, and trust me, You do not want to miss what happens when Devin Hayes tries to prove that people can change, whether Kendra will let him into their lives, whether these two broken people can build something new from the ashes of what he destroyed. This is Mr. Dalton's Story House, where we tell stories that matter about people who survive the impossible and find their way back to hope. Stay with me. The best is yet to come. Part 2. The silence in that conference room was suffocating. Kendra stood her ground, watching Devin process the reality of what was standing in front of him. 2 children. His children. 6 years of existence he had missed entirely because of choices he made in a moment of fear and selfishness. The twins had found markers and paper in a cabinet near the window. They were drawing now, seemingly unbothered by the tension crackling between the adults. Children had a remarkable ability to adapt, to find normal in the middle of chaos. Kendra had learned that over 6 years of raising them alone. Devin finally spoke, his voice rough with emotion he was clearly trying to control. Why now? After all this time, why are you telling me now? Kendra pulled out the folder she had prepared. She slid it across the conference table toward him, her movements deliberate and controlled. Because circumstances have changed. My company is going public. When that happens, investigators will dig into my background. They will find the connection to you. They will find out about the twins. I am here to control that narrative before someone else does. Devin opened the folder and found himself looking at a glossy brochure for Washington Development Group. The photographs were professional. The mission statement was clear. The board of directors section featured Kendra's photo alongside names he recognized from the business world. You built this, he said, scanning the materials with visible disbelief. An entire development company. I built an empire, Kendra corrected. Washington Development Group has offices in 2 cities. We employ over 300 people. Our foundation has helped hundreds of single parents build careers while raising their children. I have a net worth of $83 million. I did all of that in 6 years, with twin infants, starting from $847 and a suitcase. She was not bragging. She was establishing facts, building a case for why she did not need him, why she had never needed him. Devin set down the brochure and looked at her with something that might have been admiration or might have been shame. Probably both. I had no idea. You had no idea because you never looked. You never wondered what happened to the woman you threatened. You just assumed I would disappear, and I did. But I did not disappear into nothing. I disappeared into everything I was always capable of becoming. Kendra, do not. She held up a hand, stopping whatever he was about to say. I did not come here for apologies or explanations. I came here to give you a choice. You can be absent from their lives by circumstance, complicated timing, poor communication, 2 people who lost touch, or you can be absent by choice. The billionaire who threatened his pregnant girlfriend and vanished from his children's lives. Which story would you prefer the media to believe? The manipulation was elegant. They both knew it. Kendra was offering him a path to redemption wrapped in the pragmatism of public relations. But Devin's response was not calculated. It was immediate and raw. I want to know them. Really know them. Not for appearances or damage control. I want to be their father. Kendra studied him, looking for the lie, looking for the angle, looking for the man who had stood in his penthouse 6 years ago and threatened to destroy everyone she loved. You might want that right now, she said carefully. In this moment, with shock making everything feel urgent. But Devin, fatherhood is not a board meeting. You cannot delegate it when it becomes inconvenient. You cannot reschedule it when a better opportunity comes along. These are children who need consistency. They need someone who shows up, not a part-time parent who appears when his schedule allows. I understand that. Do you? Because 6 years ago, you chose your image over your family. You chose your comfort over commitment. You were willing to destroy innocent people to protect your brand. What has changed? Devin was quiet for a long moment. His eyes moved to the twins, who were comparing drawings now. Amara was explaining something about the yellow sun in her picture, while Isaiah pointed out what appeared to be structural concerns with her castle design. Everything, Devin finally said. Everything has changed. 6 years ago, I was building an empire and measuring my worth in zeros. I thought success meant accumulation, power, control. He paused, struggling for words. I was wrong about all of it. The empire I built became a prison. The control I craved became isolation. I have spent 6 years with more money than I could ever spend, and no one who actually matters to spend it with. Pretty words, Kendra observed. But I have heard your pretty words before. They did not mean much when you were threatening to ruin my family. Mama. Amara's voice cut through the tension. Who is Victoria? Kendra froze. The name meant nothing to the twins, but it meant something to her. Victoria had been Devin's assistant 6 years ago. Rumors had circulated about their relationship, though Kendra had never confirmed anything. Where did you hear that name, baby? Amara pointed at a framed photo on the conference room wall, one of those corporate shots of Devin at some charity event. A woman stood beside him, beautiful and polished, her hand on his arm in a way that suggested familiarity. It says Victoria Hayes under the picture. Is she your wife? Kendra looked at Devin, waiting for his answer. This was information she had deliberately avoided learning. Whether he had married someone else, whether he had started a family with someone more acceptable to his image. No, Devin said quietly. Victoria was my wife. We divorced 4 years ago. No children. He met Kendra's eyes. It was a mistake from the beginning. I knew it was wrong while I was doing it, but I did it anyway because it was easier than facing what I had done to you. The confession hung in the air. Kendra processed it carefully, not letting it change anything about her approach. His failed marriage was his problem. Her only concern was the twins. Isaiah was watching this exchange with those 2 smart eyes. Is he our dad? The question was direct. No hesitation, no softening around the edges. Pure 6-year-old honesty cutting through all the adult complexity. Kendra looked at Devin, silently giving him permission to answer. He nodded slightly and turned to face Isaiah directly. Yes, Devin said. I am your father. I did not know you existed until about an hour ago, which means I have missed the first 6 years of your lives. I cannot change that. I cannot make it better or take it back. But if you and your sister will let me, I would like to be part of your lives now. Isaiah processed this with visible skepticism. Why did you not know? Where were you? That is complicated. Adults always say things are complicated when they do not want to tell the truth. I am 6, not stupid. I can handle real answers. Devin actually smiled at that, a genuine expression that softened his face in ways Kendra had not seen in years. You are absolutely right, he said. You deserve a real answer. The truth is that your mother and I had a relationship that ended very badly. It ended because of choices I made. Bad choices. When she found out she was pregnant with you, she decided not to tell me. I understand why she made that decision. I gave her reasons to make that decision. Even though I wish things had been different, it was a diplomatic answer, one that did not assign blame, one that acknowledged his failures without making Kendra the villain. Kendra appreciated it more than she wanted to admit. The relationship ended badly because he chose threats over partnership, Kendra added carefully. I left because staying would have put our family in danger. I built our life in Charlotte without his help because I needed to protect you. Those are the facts. So, you were mean to Mama, Amara said, studying Devin with new eyes. And she left to keep us safe. Yes, Devin replied without hesitation. I was cruel and selfish. I hurt her in ways I can never fully repair. That is not her opinion or perception. It is fact. And I have regretted it every single day since. The honesty seemed to satisfy the twins more than any excuse would have. They returned their attention to their drawings, apparently considering the interrogation complete for now. Kendra gathered herself and pulled out a second folder from her bag. This one was thicker, filled with legal documents she had prepared with her attorney. If you want to be involved, there are terms, non-negotiable boundaries that protect my primary custody rights, visitation schedules that start slowly and increase based on consistency, financial arrangements that acknowledge your obligation while making clear that I do not need your money. Devin reached for the folder without hesitation. Whatever you need, whatever it takes. Do not agree before you read it. These are significant commitments. Monthly visits to start. Weekly video calls, supervised by me. Background checks and legal documentation before any unsupervised time. Your life will need to accommodate their schedule, not the other way around. I understand. I do not think you do. She leaned forward, her voice dropping. If you commit to this, you commit completely. You do not get to decide 6 months from now that fatherhood is boring or inconvenient. You do not get to let them down the way you let me down. Because I promise you, Devin, if you hurt those children, If you make promises you do not keep, if you give them hope and then abandon them, I will make what you threaten me with look like a gentle warning. The threat was real. Devin could see it in her eyes. This was not the young woman he had dismissed 6 years ago. This was a mother who had built an empire while raising his children alone. A woman who had survived his worst and emerged stronger than he had ever imagined possible. I will not hurt them, he said quietly. I will prove it. Through actions, through consistency, through showing up even when it is hard. I have spent 6 years learning how empty success is without meaning. I am not going to waste this chance. Time will tell, Kendra replied. It always does. They spent the next hour going through logistics, schedules, and expectations, communication protocols, what information the twins should be given and when, how to handle questions that would inevitably arise, how to manage the media when the story eventually broke. Through it all, Amara and Isaiah continued their artwork, occasionally offering observations that cut through the complexity with startling clarity. If he is our dad, Amara said at one point, does that mean we get 2 Christmases? Kendra could not help but smile despite the weight of the conversation. We will figure that out as we go, baby. By the time they finished, 2 hours had passed. The twins were getting restless. Amara had exhausted her interest in drawing and was now spinning slowly in one of the conference room chairs. We should go, Kendra said, standing. They need lunch, and you have enough information to have your lawyers review the custody agreement. Wait. Devin stood too, something almost desperate in his expression. Can I take you all to dinner? Just something casual. I want to spend a little more time with them before you leave. Kendra's first instinct was to refuse. Every additional minute felt like risk, like giving ground she might not be able to reclaim. But Amara had stopped spinning. Isaiah had looked up from his drawing. Both of them were watching her with identical expressions of curiosity and hope. Somewhere kid-friendly, Kendra said finally. And we are not staying past 6. We have an early flight tomorrow. They ended up at a pizza place Devin's assistant recommended. The kind of casual family restaurant with paper tablecloths and crayons and a menu that featured pictures alongside the descriptions. Devin looked absurdly out of place in his $3,000 suit. He seemed aware of it too, loosening his tie and rolling up his sleeves as if trying to become someone more approachable. The twins had opinions about pizza. Pepperoni and mushroom, Isaiah insisted. Not just cheese. Cheese pizza is boring. I like cheese, Amara countered. Simple is not boring. Simple is classic. We can get half and half, Kendra interjected. Problem solved. Devin watched this exchange with an expression Kendra could not quite read, something between wonder and grief. The ordinary family moment that he had missed thousands of times over 6 years. What do you like on your pizza? Amara asked him directly. Devin seemed startled to be included. I like pepperoni. And sometimes sausage. Your brother and I might have similar taste. Isaiah perked up at this. He studied Devin with renewed interest. Do you like buildings? Isaiah asked. Buildings? Like architecture. How things are constructed. I want to be an architect when I grow up. Or maybe an engineer. I have not decided yet. I actually studied engineering in college, Devin said, before I switched to business. Structural engineering specifically. Isaiah's whole demeanor changed. The skepticism that had marked his interactions with Devin softened into something like excitement. Really? Do you know about load-bearing walls? I do. And foundation systems. And cantilevers. What is a cantilever? It is a structural element that projects horizontally into space supported only on one end. Like a diving board. Or certain kinds of balconies. Amara rolled her eyes. Here we go. She looked at Kendra with the long-suffering expression of someone who had heard many engineering lectures. He is going to talk about buildings for the rest of dinner now. But she did not seem bothered. Not really. There was something almost like relief in her face as she watched her brother find common ground with this strange man who was apparently their father. The pizza arrived and conversation flowed more easily than Kendra had expected. Isaiah peppered Devin with questions about engineering and construction. Amara described her art projects in extensive detail. Devin listened to both of them with genuine attention, asking follow-up questions, treating their 6-year-old interests with respect. Kendra watched carefully, looking for condescension, looking for boredom, looking for the mask to slip. It did not slip. This was the Devin she had fallen in love with 7 years ago. Engaged. Curious. capable of making people feel like they were the only ones in the room. She had forgotten he could be like this. Or maybe she had forced herself to forget because remembering made the betrayal sharper. After pizza, they walked back toward the parking garage where Kendra had left her rental car. The Atlanta evening was warm, the kind of autumn night that felt more like summer's last gasp. The twins walked between Kendra and Devin, Amara holding Kendra's hand while Isaiah maintained his independence by touching no one. "When will we see you again?" Amara asked as they reached the garage entrance. 2 weeks, Devin said, glancing at Kendra for confirmation. She nodded slightly. "I will come to Charlotte. We can do something fun together. Whatever you want. Can we go to Discovery Place?" Isaiah asked immediately. "They have a whole section about engineering and physics. And the Nature Museum has butterflies," Amara added. "We have not been there in forever." "Then we will do both," Devin promised. "The museum and the butterflies, whatever you want." The twins seemed satisfied. They said goodbye without drama and climbed into the rental car to buckle themselves in. But before Kendra could follow, Devin touched her elbow gently. "Can I have one more minute?" "Just us." Kendra hesitated, then nodded. She kept the car door open so she could see the twins. "Thank you," Devin said quietly. "For this, for telling me, for giving me a chance I know I do not deserve. Do not thank me yet. This is not about redemption. This is about 2 children who deserve to know their father. If you mess this up, there will not be another opportunity. I will not. I promise. Your promises did not mean much 6 years ago." The words landed hard. Kendra saw him flinch. Good. She wanted him to understand the weight of what he was taking on. "I know," Devin said after a moment. "I know I destroyed your trust. I know sorry does not begin to cover what I did. But Kendra, I am not asking for forgiveness. I am not asking for another chance with you. I am just asking for the opportunity to be a father to them. I will prove myself through actions, not words. See that you do." She turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. Victoria. Is she still in your life?" "No, that ended 4 years ago. It was a mistake from the beginning. I recognize that too late." "I do not care about your relationship history," Kendra interrupted. "I just need to know she will not be around my children. Anyone you are involved with, I need to know about before they meet the twins." "There is no one," Devin said. "There has not been anyone in a long time. But I understand. Complete transparency about anyone in my life. Whatever you need." Kendra nodded once and got into the car without looking back. As she pulled out of the parking garage, she caught a glimpse of Devin in the rearview mirror, still standing there, watching them leave, looking like a man who had just been given everything he wanted and was terrified of losing it again. "Mama," Amara said from the back seat. "I think he is sad." "Why do you think that, baby?" "Because he looked like he lost something important, like when I lost my favorite stuffed animal that time. He looked like that, but bigger." "He did lose something," Isaiah added quietly. "He lost us. For 6 years. That is a lot of losing. Out of the mouths of children. They saw more clearly than adults, more honestly, without the layers of protection and justification that came with experience. The flight back to Charlotte felt longer than usual. The twins fell asleep before takeoff. Kendra stared out the window at the darkness below, processing everything that had happened. She had done it. Told Devin about the children, navigated the first meeting, established boundaries that would protect everyone. She should feel relieved. Instead, she felt exhausted. And if she was being completely honest with herself, which she tried to avoid when she was this tired, she felt something that might have been hope. Not hope for herself. That door was welded shut. But hope that maybe her children could have a father who showed up, who proved that people could change, who became someone worthy of their trust. She would believe it when she saw it. Simone met them at the Charlotte airport just before midnight. "How did it go?" she asked once the twins were settled in the back seat of her car, too sleepy to pay attention. "Complicated." Kendra leaned her head back against the seat. "He wants to be involved. Says he has changed. We will see if his actions match his words." "And how do you feel about that?" "I do not feel anything about it. This is not about me. It is about them. My feelings are irrelevant." Simone gave her a look that suggested she did not believe that for a second. But she was wise enough not to push. At home, Kendra carried both twins to bed. Still small enough to carry, though not for much longer. She tucked them in, kissed their foreheads, and stood in the doorway watching them sleep. These two humans she had created and raised, who combined pieces of her and Devin while being entirely their own people, who deserved a father even if that father had tried to erase them before they were born. Later, in her own room, Kendra found a text from Devin waiting. "Thank you again for today. I meant everything I said. I will prove it. Sleep well." She stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Actions, not words. See you in 2 weeks." Short, professional, giving nothing away. She set the phone down and tried to sleep, but her mind kept replaying moments from the day. The shock on Devin's face, the careful way he spoke to the twins, Isaiah lighting up about architecture, Amara's assessment that he seemed sad, and underneath it all, the painful awareness that this was the Devin she had loved, intelligent, attentive, capable of real connection. Before he had become the man who threatened to destroy everything. People could change. She believed that in theory. But believing it about him specifically? That would require evidence she had not yet seen. The 2 weeks between visits passed in the familiar rhythm of single parenthood. School runs, business meetings, bedtime stories, foundation work, the ordinary chaos that had become her life. But now there was something new woven through the days. Video calls with Devin. He had asked permission to call the twins before bed. Kendra had agreed with strict parameters. 15 minutes maximum. Age-appropriate conversation. She reserved the right to end the call immediately if anything seemed harmful. The first call was awkward. Everyone trying too hard. Devin asking questions that felt rehearsed. The twins giving short answers and looking to Kendra for guidance. But by the third call, something shifted. Isaiah started showing Devin his building designs through the camera, elaborate structures he had sketched, pointing out load-bearing walls and foundation systems with the vocabulary Devin had given him. Amara sang him songs she had learned at school, drew pictures during the call and held them up for him to see. They asked him questions about Atlanta, about his work, about what kind of car he drove, and whether he had ever been to Disney World. The conversations grew longer, more natural. The twins began asking when the next call would happen, what time Devin would be online, whether he had seen the video they wanted to share. Kendra monitored from a careful distance, watching for red flags, looking for signs that his interest was fading, waiting for the moment when he would prove her right about him. That moment did not come. Devin was consistent. He called when he said he would. He remembered details from previous conversations. He asked follow-up questions about school projects and art assignments and the elaborate fantasy games the twins played together. He was doing everything right, and that terrified Kendra more than any failure would have. 2 weeks after the Atlanta meeting, Devin flew to Charlotte on a Friday afternoon. He texted when he landed, when he checked into his hotel, when he was on his way to her house. The constant updates felt like someone demonstrating accountability, and Kendra appreciated it even as she refused to acknowledge the appreciation. When the doorbell rang, both twins raced to answer. Their excitement was palpable, genuine, the kind of enthusiasm that could not be faked or performed. Kendra followed at a measured pace. She arrived in time to see Devin crouching down to their level, a wrapped package in each hand. "I brought you something," he said. "But I want to be clear. I am not trying to buy your affection. Your mom and I talked about gifts being meaningful, not excessive. These are small, but I thought you might like them." He handed Isaiah a book about famous bridges throughout history. Amara received an art set with professional quality supplies in her favorite shade of yellow. "These are perfect," Isaiah said, already flipping through the bridge book. "The Golden Gate Bridge has a span of 4,200 feet. I love the brushes," Amara added, testing one against her palm. "They are so soft." "You are welcome," Devin said. Then he stood and met Kendra's eyes. "Hi." "Hi, ready for museums?" The question was tentative, like he was still not quite sure of his welcome, like he expected her to change her mind at any moment and tell him to leave. "Ready," she confirmed. Discovery Place was crowded with weekend families. Isaiah navigated through the exhibits with single-minded focus, dragging Devin toward the engineering and physics section, while Amara and Kendra followed at a more leisurely pace. "He really likes him," Amara observed, watching her brother gesture animatedly while Devin listened with apparent fascination. "It seems that way," Kendra agreed carefully. "Do you like him?" The The question caught her off guard. It is complicated, baby. That is what adults always say when the answer is yes, but they do not want to admit it. Kendra could not help but laugh. When did you get so wise? I have always been wise. You tell me that all the time. They caught up to Isaiah and Devin at an exhibit about suspension bridges. Devin was explaining the mathematics of cable tension while Isaiah absorbed every word. This is the best day ever, Isaiah announced when they finally moved on. The statement hit Kendra somewhere deep. Her son, who asked for so little and processed everything so carefully, had just declared this the best day of his life. Because a man he had met 2 weeks ago was willing to talk to him about bridges. It should have made her happy. In many ways, it did. But it also broke her heart a little. For all the days she had tried to be enough, for all the time she had listened to his engineering lectures even though she did not fully understand, for the way his eyes lit up now in a way they rarely had before. She was not jealous, not exactly. She was just aware of what had been missing, what she had never been able to provide, no matter how hard she tried. After Discovery Place, they went to the Nature Museum's Butterfly Pavilion. Amara's choice, the contrast was striking, from structural precision to natural chaos, hundreds of butterflies floating through a climate-controlled habitat. Amara stood very still in the center of the pathway, arms outstretched, waiting with the patience of someone who understood that beautiful things came to those who did not chase them. A monarch landed on her hand, then another on her shoulder. Within moments, she was covered in butterflies like a living garden. "Do not move," Kendra whispered, pulling out her phone. But Devin was faster, already capturing the moment from multiple angles. His expression was one of pure wonder. "This is incredible," he breathed. "She's like a butterfly magnet." "I am a butterfly queen," Amara whispered, voice filled with awe. Isaiah stood nearby, watching his sister with a mixture of envy and admiration. "How do you do that?" "You have to be very still and think beautiful thoughts." "That is not scientific," Isaiah protested, but he tried it anyway. Standing perfectly still, presumably thinking what he considered beautiful thoughts, which probably involved cantilevers. A small blue butterfly landed on his nose. "I got one," he yelped, then immediately regretted the outburst as the butterfly flew away. "You will get another chance," Devin assured him. "Here, stand next to me. We will be still together." They stood side by side, father and son, waiting for butterflies, and watching them, Kendra felt something crack in her chest. Not break, but crack. The way frozen ground cracks when spring finally arrives. This was what she had wanted for them. A father who showed up, who participated, who made ordinary moments special just by being present. But it was also terrifying, because the more Devin proved himself, the more she would have to confront her own walls, and decide whether they were still protecting her or had become a prison of her own making. After the museums, they stopped for ice cream, despite the autumn chill. The twins debated flavors with the intensity of world leaders negotiating peace treaties. "Thank you for today," Devin said quietly while the kids were distracted. "For letting me be part of this. You did well," Kendra admitted. "They are happy. That is what matters. Can I ask you something? Not about them, about you. Depends on the question. Are you happy? Beyond being a mother, beyond the success, beyond everything you have built, are you actually happy?" The question cut deeper than she wanted it to, deeper than she was prepared to answer. "I am content," she said carefully. "I have work that matters, children I adore, a life I created from nothing. That is more than most people ever get. Content is not happy, maybe not, but it is stable. And after 6 years of fighting for stability, I will take it over the chaos of chasing happiness." Devin absorbed this with visible pain. "I did that," he said quietly. "I made you choose survival over joy." "You were part of it," Kendra acknowledged. "But I made my own choices. I chose to leave, to start over, to build something that could not be taken from me. Those were my decisions. I do not regret them. Even if they cost you happiness, happiness is overrated. It is a feeling that comes and goes. Stability is what keeps you alive when feelings fail." The twins returned with their ice cream choices before Devin could respond. Mint chip for Isaiah, strawberry for Amara. They sat at a small table outside, the children chattering about butterflies and bridges, while Kendra and Devin made small talk that carefully avoided anything too substantial. The day ended back at Kendra's house. A comfortable home in a good Charlotte neighborhood. Nothing extravagant, but solid and well-maintained. Devin hesitated at the threshold. "Can I come in? Just for a few minutes. I would like to see where they live." Kendra considered, then nodded. They need baths and beds soon, but briefly is fine. The house was exactly what Devin might have expected if he had thought about it. Tastefully decorated, but clearly lived in. The twins' artwork covering one wall. Their toys organized in baskets that suggested a daily battle against chaos. Family photos documented 6 years of life he had missed. Birthdays, holidays, first days of school, random afternoons that had been deemed photo-worthy. "You have built something beautiful," Devin said, studying a photo of Kendra and the twins at what looked like a beach trip. All three of them laughing at something outside the frame. "I built something safe," Kendra corrected. Beautiful was never the goal. "Can I show you my room?" Amara asked, tugging at Devin's hand. "I have all my art projects displayed." "Mine too," Isaiah insisted. "Mine has all my building designs on the walls." "I want to see both," Devin assured them. The tour took 20 minutes, each child pointing out treasured possessions with extensive commentary, explaining the significance of everything from a rock collection to a carefully constructed tower of blocks that had survived for 3 months because Isaiah had engineered it to be earthquake-resistant. Devin listened to all of it, asked questions, treated their 6-year-old concerns with genuine respect. By the time they finished, it was well past the twins' bedtime. Kendra ushered them toward baths while walking Devin to the door. "Can I see them again tomorrow?" he asked. "Before I fly back." "Nothing elaborate. Just lunch or the park. Whatever works with your schedule." Kendra had planned to maintain distance, keep his visits structured and limited. But the twins had been so genuinely happy today. "The park," she agreed. "Noon. There is one near here with a good playground. We will meet you there." "Thank you." He paused at the door. "Kendra, I know I have years of trust to rebuild. I know one good day does not erase 6 years of absence. But I want you to know that I am serious about this. About them. I am not going anywhere." "Time will tell," Kendra replied. "It always does." That night, after Devin left and the twins were finally asleep, Kendra sat in her home office, reviewing contracts that needed her attention. But she kept getting distracted. A text from Devin. "Today was one of the best days I have had in 6 years. Thank you for giving me this chance. Sleep well." She did not respond immediately. Instead, she opened her photo album and looked at the pictures from the butterfly pavilion. There was one of Devin and Isaiah standing side by side, both perfectly still, waiting for butterflies, their profiles nearly identical. Same strong jawline, same focused expression, same slight furrow between their eyebrows. Her son looked like his father. Both her children carried pieces of Devin in their faces, in their mannerisms, in their way of approaching the world. She had always known this intellectually, but seeing them together made it visceral. They deserved this. They deserved a father who showed up, who tried, who made the effort even when it was inconvenient. She typed back a response. "They had a good time. See you at noon tomorrow. Professional, neutral, safe." Before we continue with this story that is about to enter a pivotal phase, I need to speak directly to you. We have watched Kendra survive the unsurvivable. We have seen her build an empire from the ashes of betrayal. We have witnessed her children meet their father for the first time and begin to form connections she never expected. Now comes the hard part, the part where Devin has to prove that one good weekend is not a fluke, that his transformation is real, that people can actually change when the stakes are high enough. If you are invested in this story, if you want to know whether Kendra will ever trust again, I need you to hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel because the next part of this journey is where everything gets tested. Drop a comment telling me what you would do. Would you give Devin more chances? Or have you seen enough to know that some betrayals cannot be undone? Your engagement matters here. This community is built on stories that speak to the real complications of life. The messiness, the uncertainty, the hope that exists alongside the fear. Now let me tell you what happened over the next several months. The weeks turned into months. Devin kept his word. He visited Charlotte twice a month without fail. He video called the twins 3 times a week, conversations that grew longer and more natural as everyone relaxed into this new dynamic. He sent thoughtful gifts for birthdays and holidays. Never excessive, always meaningful, things that showed he paid attention to their interests. A book about famous architects for Isaiah, professional watercolors for Amara, small gestures that accumulated into evidence. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, Kendra's walls began to crack. It started with small things. She caught herself smiling at something Devin said during a video call. She found herself looking forward to his visits, not just for the twins, but because his presence had become comfortable. She noticed how he had changed, more patient, more present, more willing to be vulnerable than the man she had known 7 years ago. 4 months after that initial meeting in Atlanta, Devin made an announcement during one of his Charlotte visits. They were having dinner at Kendra's house, something that had become routine. Devin cooking while Kendra supervised homework. Everyone pretending this was completely normal family behavior. "I have some news," Devin said as they sat down to eat. "I have been restructuring my company, delegating more responsibilities to my executive team, and I've decided to open a Charlotte office for Hayes Financial." The twins erupted in excitement. Kendra felt her heart rate increase. "That is a significant change," she said carefully. "It is the right change," Devin replied. "I have been thinking about it since that first day in your office. My company can function without me micromanaging every decision. But Amara and Isaiah, they are only 6 once. I do not want to miss any more of their lives than I already have. What about your life in Atlanta? Your network, your routine, everything you built there?" "I did not have much of a life in Atlanta," Devin admitted. "Just work. The few relationships I had were really business connections. They have mostly fallen away since I started spending so much time here. There is nothing tying me to Atlanta except inertia. Here, I have my children. That is everything." It was exactly the right answer. And it terrified Kendra completely, because if Devin relocated to Charlotte, the careful distance she had maintained would become impossible. She would have to actually deal with her feelings instead of compartmentalizing them into monthly visits that were easy to control. "When would this happen?" "I am looking at properties now, hoping to be settled within 2 months. I wanted to tell you first. Make sure you are comfortable with it. You do not need my permission to move to Charlotte." "No. But I need you to be okay with it. If this is too much too fast, I can slow down." Kendra looked at the twins, watching this exchange with barely contained excitement. She looked at Devin, who had spent 4 months proving himself reliable. "Do it," she said. "Move here. Be close to them. They deserve that." What she did not say, what she barely admitted to herself, was that maybe she deserved it too. Maybe she deserved to see what happened when someone who had hurt her actually did the work to become better. That night, after Devin left and the twins were asleep, Kendra sat in her kitchen drinking tea and staring at nothing. Simone found her there 20 minutes later. "You are thinking loudly," Simone observed, pouring herself a cup of tea. "Want to share? He is moving here, opening his Charlotte office. He will be here 3 weeks out of every month. And how do you feel about that?" "I do not know. Terrified, maybe hopeful, both at the same time. He has been everything I hoped he would be as a father. Consistent, present, genuinely engaged. The twins adore him. But it means I cannot keep him at arm's length anymore. I cannot pretend this is just about co-parenting when he is going to be a permanent fixture in our daily lives. I am going to have to actually examine what I feel about him, beyond whether he is good for the children. And what do you feel about him?" Kendra was quiet for a long moment, staring into her tea like it held answers. "I do not hate him anymore," she finally said. "I did for a long time. But watching him with the twins, seeing how he has changed, how he prioritizes them over everything else, it is hard to maintain hatred in the face of genuine transformation. That is not what I asked. I know what you asked. I am just not ready to answer it honestly, because the answer scares you. Because the answer means I might have to risk something I swore I would never risk again. My heart, my trust, my belief that people can choose me and stay chosen. He broke all of that. What if he breaks it again? What if he does not?" Simone countered. "What if he has actually become the man you needed him to be back then? Are you going to punish him forever for who he was? Or give him credit for who he has become?" It was the question Kendra had been avoiding for months. "I do not know if I can do it," Kendra whispered. "I do not know if I can be that vulnerable again. You do not have to decide tonight. But eventually you will have to decide something. Living in this limbo, not moving forward, not letting go, that is just another kind of prison." You survived what he did. You built an empire. You raised 2 incredible children alone. You are strong enough to risk your heart again if you choose to. The question is whether you are brave enough. 6 weeks later, Devin closed on a house in Myers Park, a beautiful brick colonial 3 miles from Kendra's place. He invited them over for the walk-through before moving in. "This will be your room when you stay over," Devin told Isaiah, showing him a bedroom with built-in bookshelves and a desk positioned to catch morning light. "I thought you could use it for your architecture projects." "This is mine?" Isaiah's eyes went wide. "Really mine? Really yours. We will decorate it however you want." Amara's room was painted soft yellow with space for art supplies and a window seat perfect for reading. "I love it," she breathed. "Can we stay tonight?" "Not tonight," Kendra interjected gently. "Your dad does not even have furniture yet." But soon, they explored the rest of the house, a home office where Devin would work, a modern kitchen that opened to a backyard perfect for children, a living room with space for family movie nights. It was a home designed for the life Devin was building, not the life he had lived. After the twins ran outside to explore the yard, Kendra and Devin stood in the kitchen, the space between them charged with something neither was quite ready to name. "This is really happening," Kendra said. "You are really here, building a life close to them. I told you I would. I know it took months to prove it, but I meant every word. They are my priority. This is where I need to be." She studied his face, looking for the lie, looking for the angle. "Can I ask you something? Not as the mother of your children, just as me. Anything. Why? Why did you choose threats over partnership 7 years ago? We were good together. We had plans. And then I got pregnant, and suddenly I was a problem to be solved instead of a person to be loved. I need to understand what I was not." Devin's face crumpled with old pain. "You were not anything except exactly who you needed to be. The problem was never you, Kendra. It was me. I was terrified. You challenged me to be better, to be more authentic, to examine the parts of myself I had been avoiding. And I was not ready for that." He moved closer, slowly, giving her space to retreat if she needed it. "So I chose the easy path. I chose control over connection. I chose my image over your heart. It is the worst thing I have ever done. And I have spent 6 years understanding how empty everything else was because of it." "Pretty words," Kendra said. "But words are easy." "I know. That is why I stopped relying on them. Every action I have taken over the past 4 months, moving my life here, showing up consistently, being present for every call and every visit, those are not words, those are choices. Daily choices to be someone different than I was. And now, I am here, proving through action what I could never prove through apology. I did not expect anything from you, Kendra. I did not move here hoping you would forgive me or give me another chance. I moved here because my children are here, because being their father is the most important thing I have ever done." He paused, vulnerability flickering across his face. "But if you are asking whether I would want more, whether I would want the chance to be the partner I should have been 7 years ago, the answer is yes, absolutely yes. But only if you want it too, only if you feel safe enough to try." "I am scared," Kendra admitted. The words came out before she could stop them. "I am scared of letting you in again, of trusting you with more than just co-parenting, of believing this version of you is real and permanent." "I am scared too," Devin confessed. "Scared I will mess this up. Scared that 4 months of proving myself will not be enough to overcome 4 minutes of betrayal. But Kendra, I am here. I am not going anywhere. Take whatever time you need. I will still be here when you are ready, if you are ever ready." "I need more time," she said finally. "More time to see if this stability holds. To trust that you will not wake up one day and decide Charlotte is boring and the twins are too much work." "Take all the time you need," Devin said. "I am not going anywhere." That became his constant refrain over the following months. As Devin settled into Charlotte life, he showed up for everything. School plays, parent-teacher conferences, Isaiah's Little League team, which he coached despite knowing almost nothing about baseball, Amara's art shows, every recital, every science fair, every ordinary Tuesday that required nothing more than presence. He became part of the fabric of their daily lives. Not a visitor, a presence, and Kendra watched, carefully, critically, looking for cracks in the foundation The cracks never came. Devin was solid, consistent, exactly who he claimed to be. One evening, 8 months after he had moved to Charlotte, Kendra found herself at Devin's house for dinner. A weekly tradition now. The twins were in the backyard building an elaborate fort while she and Devin cleaned up the kitchen together, moving around each other with the easy familiarity of people who had done this countless times. "I have been thinking," Kendra said, rinsing a plate, "about what you said, about wanting more than so parenting." Devin went very still beside her. "And I think maybe I am ready to try, not jumping into anything, not rushing, but just trying, to see if there is something there beyond shared children and old history, to see if we can build something new that does not carry all the weight of what broke us before." The smile that spread across Devin's face was incandescent. "Really, really, but Devin, I need you to understand. I am not the same person I was 7 years ago. I am harder, more guarded, less willing to ignore red flags. If we do this and you hurt me again, there will not be another chance. Not ever. I understand, and I promise you, I will not waste this opportunity. I spent 6 years learning to be someone worthy of you. I am not going to throw that away." He moved closer, carefully, asking permission with his eyes before taking her hand. "Can I take you to dinner? Just us. A real date where we figure out who we are now, not who we were." "I would like that," Kendra replied, and meant it. Their first date happened 2 weeks later. Simone stayed with the twins, who were thrilled at the idea of their parents going out together like grown-ups, as Amara put it. Devin took Kendra to a quiet French restaurant. They talked for 3 hours, about everything, about nothing, about who they had become in the years apart, about what they wanted from life now that they had both achieved the success they once chased. It felt different than 7 years ago, more grounded, less desperate. They were not two young people trying to prove something to the world. They were two adults who had survived heartbreak and built separate lives and were now choosing carefully to see if those lives might fit together. The months that followed were not a fairy tale. There were hard conversations, old wounds that surfaced unexpectedly, moments when Kendra pulled back because the fear became too loud, moments when Devin had to prove himself all over again. But they kept choosing each other, daily, deliberately. Devin showed up for Sunday dinners. Kendra invited him to foundation events as her partner, late-night conversations after the children were asleep, talking about dreams and fears and the slow work of building trust from rubble. 1 year after that first meeting in Atlanta, they stood together at a Washington Foundation gala, watching Isaiah and Amara charm donors with their unique blend of analytical precision and artistic passion. Devin's arm was around Kendra's waist, casual, comfortable, like it belonged there. "We did okay," Devin said quietly. "Did we not?" "We did better than okay," Kendra replied. "We did real, messy and imperfect, and absolutely real." "I love you," he said. Simple. True, I love you too. Again, still, earned through every difficult moment and every choice to stay. 2 years after Devin moved to Charlotte, they stood in the backyard of their newly shared home, the house they had chosen together, a place big enough for the life they were building. The twins were 8 now, thriving, secure, loved by both parents. Amara was working on a mural she was painting on the garden shed, yellow butterflies against a blue sky. Isaiah was explaining the structural modifications he wanted to make to the treehouse, something about load distribution and cantilever extensions. Devin listened with genuine interest, asking questions, offering suggestions. Kendra watched them from the patio. Her family, complicated and imperfect and absolutely real. Simone came to stand beside her. "You did it," Simone said quietly. "You survived the unsurvivable and came out with more than you started with." "We did it," Kendra corrected. "All of us. Together. Including him. Eventually, after he proved he deserved to be included." Simone smiled. "That is growth. For both of you." That night, after the twins were asleep, Kendra and Devin sat on the back porch, stars visible above them, the quiet of a good life settling around them. "I need to tell you something," Devin said. Kendra tensed slightly. "Old habits. I got the ring today," he continued. "The one I have been designing. I wanted to ask you months ago, but I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted you to know how much thought went into every decision. Devin, I know we said slow, I know we said no rushing, but Kendra, I have spent 2 years proving I can be consistent. 2 years showing up every single day. 2 years earning back trust I destroyed in a single night. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. This is not pressure. If you need more time, we have more time. If you want to wait another year, another 5 years, I will still be here. But I want you to know, I am ready. I am certain. I want to spend the rest of my life showing you what choosing you looks like. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant. A yellow diamond surrounded by smaller white ones. Amara helped me pick the stone, Devin admitted. She insisted it had to be yellow. She said yellow is the color of happiness and new beginnings. Kendra laughed through sudden tears. Of course she did. Isaiah helped with the design. He had very specific opinions about the structural integrity of the setting. Apparently traditional prong settings are insufficient for daily wear. That sounds exactly like our son. Kendra looked at the ring, at this man who had destroyed her and then spent years rebuilding, at the life they had created from the ashes of the life he had tried to prevent. Ask me, she said quietly. Kendra Washington, will you marry me? Yes. Simple, certain, earned. Devin slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, because of course Isaiah had ensured the measurements were precise. They sat together in the starlight, not speaking, just being. Two people who had made terrible choices and beautiful ones, who had hurt each other and healed together, who had proven that endings could become beginnings if you were willing to do the work. The wedding happened 6 months later. Small, intimate, family and close friends only. Amara was the flower girl, wearing a yellow dress she had designed herself, scattering yellow rose petals down the aisle with more enthusiasm than precision. Isaiah was the ring bearer, walking with measured steps, taking his responsibility seriously, probably calculating the optimal pace for maximum ceremonial impact. Kendra's father walked her down the aisle. Roland Washington, who had been skeptical of Devin for years, had finally admitted that the man had earned his place. He showed up, Roland said the night before the wedding. Every single time. For 3 years. That is not performance. That is character. Kendra's mother cried through the entire ceremony. Happy tears. The kind that come when you have watched your child survive the impossible and find joy on the other side. Marcus stood as Kendra's witness. Still protective. Still watchful, but willing to admit that maybe people could change. I am watching you, Marcus told Devin before the ceremony. Forever. Hurt her again, and I do not care how much money you have. I would expect nothing less, Devin replied, and I would deserve everything you would do. The vows they wrote themselves. 7 years ago, Kendra said, you threatened to destroy my family. You told me that having our children would ruin everything. You tried to erase them before they existed. She paused. Let the weight of those words settle. But here is what you did not understand. Those children, the ones you wanted me to eliminate, they became my reason for building something unbreakable. They became my strength, my purpose, my everything. She looked at Amara and Isaiah, sitting in the front row with Simone. And now somehow, you have become part of that everything too. Not because I forgot what you did. I will never forget. But because you spent 3 years proving that the man who made those threats does not exist anymore. Because you showed up. Every single day. Because you became the father they deserve and the partner I needed. I am not marrying the man you were. I am marrying the man you became. And I am trusting that man to keep choosing us. Every day. For the rest of our lives. Devin's vows were shorter. His voice thick with emotion. I do not deserve you, he said simply. I never did. But I am going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the chance you gave me. You gave me children I almost threw away. You gave me a family I almost destroyed. You gave me a future I almost forfeited for pride and fear. I love you, Kendra. Not the way I loved you 7 years ago. That love was selfish and conditional and not really love at all. I love you the way I've learned to love over 3 years of showing up. Completely. Unconditionally. Without expectation of anything in return. Thank you for surviving me. Thank you for thriving despite me. Thank you for eventually letting me be part of the story again. I promise to spend every day earning this moment. Forever. The reception was joyful. Dancing and laughter and the kind of celebration that comes from genuine happiness. Amara insisted on making a toast. She stood on a chair, sparkling cider in hand, yellow dress slightly askew from dancing. To my mom, who is the bravest person I know. To my dad, who learned to be better. And to our family, which is weird and complicated and absolutely perfect. Isaiah added his own contribution. Statistically, second marriages have a higher success rate than first marriages. Probably because people learn from their mistakes. So mathematically, you two should be fine. Everyone laughed. Because what else could you do with a child who analyzed love through statistics? Later that night, after the guests had gone and the twins were asleep, Kendra and Devin stood on the balcony of their honeymoon suite. "We really did it," Devin said. "We really did," Kendra agreed. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if things had been different? If I had not made those threats? If you had stayed?" Kendra considered the question. "Sometimes, but I do not think we would have worked back then. You were not ready to be who you needed to be, and maybe I was not either. Maybe we both needed those 6 years apart to become people who could actually build something together. That is a generous interpretation. It is a true one. The person you were 7 years ago would have eventually hurt me in other ways. And the person I was would have let you. We were not ready. We are now." Devin pulled her close. "I am going to spend the rest of my life being grateful that you gave me another chance. And I'm going to spend the rest of mine being grateful that you became someone worth giving a chance to." They stood together as the sun rose. Two people who had traveled through devastation to find each other again. Not the same people they had been. Not trying to recreate what had been lost. Something new. Something stronger. Something built on the understanding that love was not just a feeling but a choice made daily. A choice they would both keep making. Forever. This is where our story ends. But before I let you go, I need to speak directly to your heart. You have just witnessed something rare, not a fairy tale where everyone was good from the beginning, but a real story about real failure and real redemption, about a woman who was threatened with destruction and built an empire from the rubble, about a man who was given a second chance he did not deserve and spent years earning it. This is what we do here at Mr. Dalton Storyhouse. We tell stories about the messy, complicated, painful, beautiful reality of being human. Stories where people fail and sometimes learn from it, where forgiveness is not weakness, but the refusal to let the past control the future. If this story moved you, if it made you think about your own second chances or the ones you might offer, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear that survival is possible, that strength can come from devastation, that your worst moments do not have to write your final chapter. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Because every week, we are telling stories that matter. Stories about people like you. People fighting through impossible situations. People finding their way to hope. Drop a comment telling me what this story meant to you. Tell me about your own journey. Tell me about the second chances you have given or received. Your voice matters in this community. This is Mr. Dalton Storyhouse, where broken stories become beautiful ones. Until next time, remember, your past does not write your future. You do.